KUAM Sports Weekend Roundup is brought to you by Gatorade. Greatness starts with G.
We are running right into our sports report today. Half a day, everybody. I'm your 671 sports nerd, Jason Salas. And that was kind of the operative word, running, because I have with me a member of our community, transplanted in New England right now, but running with 671 on her heart. We have Miss Jacqueline Salas. Hi, Jackie. How are you?
Hey, Jace. How you doing?
Very, 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 very well. And I would assume that I'm doing better than you are right now. Well, actually, probably I'm incredibly jealous because, I mean, you are my first cousin. The entire family is extremely proud of you because you just completed your first ever Boston Marathon. Well done. First question, can you even feel your legs at this point?
Their feeling is starting to come back. Let's just say that they're still a little wobbly, but we're walking on flat surfaces and taking elevators where I can. So
I was going to say avoid stairs at all costs.
yes, absolutely.
Okay, so tell me, before we get into the actual race experience, tell me about like the finish. And you were doing this because, you know, you have been a competitive runner for a little bit now. Were you impressed with your performance? And, you know, I mean, I've known you, you've always been type A, you know, you're always an overachiever and everything. What do you feel that you could have done better?
Yeah, definitely. Well, this was my first marathon. So my big goal, was truly just to finish the marathon, 26.2 miles. I never thought that I would ever run, in my lifetime. So the big goal was to finish. I did have lofty aspirations, I would say, to try to finish within, 420 or less, but, that did not end up happening. And just circumstances of trying to listen to my body and experiencing some pain, probably about the halfway point, indicated that I needed to pay attention to that and not overdo it, because there was still 16 miles to go at that point. But yeah, so I would say the big goal I definitely achieved. I would say if I could do it again, I would train a little bit, more strategically. And it's been a learning process since this has been my first one. But being more intentional about the strength process, which people often neglect, and strength training, and then integrating more stride running, is something that I would do and be a little bit more diligent about during the preparation process. So
Okay, and even though, ladies and gentlemen, watching this like right now, you can't tell because we're both in Zoom, but Jackie and I, like, we both get our height from our dad's like side of the family and everything. So I mean, you're not a shorty. Let me put it that way. Like your stride actually probably could cover like a lot of ground.
yeah,
You're not half giraffe like me, but I mean, you're pretty tall.
Yeah, but those are the things I would work on. We'll see if a marathon in the near future might be telling of what that would do. So
Okay. Well, and now that you said, you listened to your body while you were going through, the race experience and everything like that. Tell me about like where you were mentally and everything, and the headspace you had to put
yeah.
yourself in during that time, because I mean, 4 hours is a long time, and what was on your playlist? What were you listening to, or did you listen to anything at all, and it was just natural sound?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the Boston course is pretty tough in that I would say the first chunk of it is truly the first really half mile is completely downhill. I think you decrease in elevation by 300 feet or something like that pretty quickly within like a 0.4 to a 0.5 of a mile. So it's pretty significant. And the rest of the way there are inclines, but not too many hills, and but mostly downhill until you get to about mile 20. And that's where the big heartbreak hill, and Newton Hills, they call it, really starts to progress and elevation increases again. So there's this huge stretch of hills toward the end of the race, really the last 6 miles. And so mentally, mentally, the training process has been to prepare for that, which I would say I am so fortunate that I live in Boston and that I was able to train on the course, because at every corner or at every mile marker, I kind of prepared myself into thinking, okay, this is going to come up. I need to exert this much energy, or I need to lock in and I need to rely on the crowd, right, to carry me through in this point of time, or I need to listen to music. So I kind of had a strategy in that regard. I didn't think that I would have to rely on the playlist. I ended up actually listening to music for a lot of it, but truly the crowd from Hopkinton, where we started in the Metro West part of Massachusetts, all the way into the city, there were thousands of people who lined every corner of the course. And while I was listening to the music, I would say. I think the most important thing was that the crowd, the cheers from the crowds and the encouragement from the crowds were the thing that got me through the 26 miles,
So
particularly the
you did feed off
hills.
that, because I know some people would just say like I blocked out the entire thing, and like everything else in my periphery was blurry except for that. So you were actually able to use the energy to the crowd to your benefit.
Absolutely. Friends that have
Nice.
become family, like graced miles stretched over at least 15 miles, and they were all spread out. So heavily relied on that. When it came to the hills, some mental zoning in had to happen. But for
Okay,
majority of
when you
the
ran by
hills,
MIT, did like the nerds all like cheer you on and everything? Or
oh,
I'm so jealous of them. Those are my people. You know that.
that's hysterical. Everybody did. Everybody did. It was a
Nice.
community effort. So yeah,
Okay.
the city.
Well, speaking of community, Jackie, you actually ran with intent for this, and you were actually representing a charity, which is absolutely wonderful. And you reached out to those of us in the family, and we happily like supported you and everything. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so the organization that I ran for is called Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. It's a research center as well as a hospital in Boston. It's a world premier hospital. The work that they're doing, the trials that they're doing, innovative research that they're actively doing, and then the care that they provide patients is quite phenomenal. So I applied to. You can't, this is a unique part of the Boston Marathon is you either have to qualify with a running time, which I'm not there yet. Or to get a bib number, or you have to run for a charity organization and raise some funds for that charity. And so I told myself that if I was going to actually run, that it was going to be for an organization that was near and dear. And I actually worked for the organization as an undergraduate researcher in 2013. And so, first seeing firsthand what that was like and what the hope that they provide for families is something that I wanted to be a part of in this new way. So yep, Dana
Very
Farber.
cool. Well, I also
Yes.
know that one of the things that was metaphorically pushing you on was the fact that you're a teacher in a very very nice college prep school for boys. So you were actually representing and being again outside the classroom, but being a role model for your students and everything. Did you keep that in mind as you were like pushing on, saying like my students are counting
Yeah.
on me to get this done?
Absolutely. It's so funny you say that because parents and students actually were on the course. So there were a few families that knew that I was running and they had signs and they actually showed up. So that was really sweet. And the support and encouragement I've gotten from my school community currently, as well as from the school that I previously worked at. So many coworkers and coworkers that have become friends near and dear. Were on the course and rooting for me throughout the 26.2.
There you go.
So
Well, if you don't mind, cuz I'm gonna out you like a little bit, because we hung out in Christmas when you came back, right? And I mean, you
yep.
said you need to train more and train harder and everything, but I mean, everybody watching, Jackie put in work for this. I mean, she got ready, right? But when you were here, one of the first things I asked you was, how is now running back on Guam with the thick air we've got and the temperature we've got around that time of year? How did that either prepare you or change your training regimen, heading back to Boston and competing in that kind of climate?
Yeah, definitely. It actually helped. And for those who are training or who are preparing for a race and currently living on the island, it's actually excellent training. Running in the humidity, excuse me, is tough, and in the heat is tough. But the second you get into a cooler climate, less humid climate, your aerobic kind of capacity is greater because your training has been a little bit more strenuous. So Guam training over Christmas break, the week that I was there, looked like 5 a.m. runs on Marine Drive and or 9 p.m. runs in Tumon where there was, light out and such. And that was really neat. And the hills, trying to go up and down, hills where I can find them to train for the Heartbreak Hill on this course. That was the regimen that I had. So
It would kind of help if they didn't call it the Heartbreak Hill. I'm just for
right.
positive reinforcement. I'm just saying, I mean,
We broke Heartbreak Hill. I think
there you
people who
go.
run the marathon basically say we broke Heartbreak Hill.
Turn a negative into a positive, and then that's what make you such a wonderful person. Such a wonderful role model that people can look up to and everything, but also such a wonderful athlete. So with that being said, final question is, What is next for Jackie Salas as far as competitive running? Are you looking at the New York Marathon now, or?
I mean, the world major marathons, I checked one of them off. So New York is actually something I would love to run. The course is flat, so that's an attraction there. But
You go
also
across
it's
the bridges, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so there's a little bit of an incline, but nothing too major. And the vantage point from, a spectator view is cool. I've actually seen and watched a few of my friends who race marathons for a decent chunk of their lives, like, or who have done so. Being a spectator in the New York Marathon is awesome. So maybe we'll see.
There you go. All right. Well, everybody, like as long as Jackie's been alive, I've been a very, very proud cousin and a big supporter. But now I'm also, as a sports geek, I'm also a super fan. So Jackie, you have done an absolutely amazing job, and all of us are in awe. I mean, not at all surprising, but still wildly impressive in what you've been able to do. So congratulations to you. That's awesome.
Thanks, Jace.
All right, and maybe take some Tylenol and avoid the steps once again.
Absolutely, I'm on it.
KUAM Sports Weekend Roundup is brought to you by Gatorade. Greatness starts with G.